I died, choking on my own blood. The taste of betrayal as metallic as the bullet that ended me. Not from some random shooter in a dark alley, but from the cold barrel of my own father's antique revolver, pressed right against my temple by my mother's trembling hand. "For the family," she'd whispered, her eyes empty as the chamber clicked empty after the shot. And just like that, Mia Harper, tech whiz turned cautionary tale, was gone, erased in a dingy basement office in our family home in suburban Chicago. All because I dared to build something bigger than their greed.
But death, it wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button.
1 minute. I'm crumpling to the cold concrete floor, my vision tunneling black. And the next, bam, I'm gasping awake in my old queen-sized bed in my cramped Wicker Park apartment, the summer heat of 2022 sticking my tank top to my skin. My heart hammered like a jackhammer, and I bolted upright, staring at the faded band posters on the walls that I hadn't seen in 3 years. The date on my phone, July 15th, 2022. My 27th birthday. 3 years before the celebration that would end with me dead and them rich. Holy shit. I'd been reborn. Not in some ethereal afterlife bullshit, but right back in my body. My mind a whirlwind of memories from the life I'd just escaped. The lies, the setups, the slow poison of their love. My parents, Richard and Elaine Harper, hadn't always been monsters. Or maybe they had, and I'd been too blind, too eager to prove myself as the golden child.
Dad.
The failed venture capitalist with a string of bankrupt startups. Mom. The social climber who'd married him for the illusion of status. They'd raised me on stories of American grit. Weekends at Lake Michigan grilling burgers and dreaming big. But underneath?
Rot. Pure.
Festering rot. I'd clawed my way up anyway. Dropped out of Northwestern after freshman year to code my ass off in garages and co-working spaces. By 25, I'd launched HarperTech, a fintech app that gamified micro-investments for millennials. Think Robinhood meets Duolingo, but with AI-driven tips that actually worked. It exploded. Venture capital poured in, users hit millions. By 29, my net worth was pushing $3 million. Most of it socked away in diversified trusts I'd set up myself because, hell, family first, right? I'd funneled cash into their sinking Harper Investments firm, bailing them out twice. "You're our legacy," Mia, Dad would say, clapping me on the back at barbecues. Mom would hug me tight, whispering about grandkids and white picket fences.
Lies.
All of it. In my first life, on my 30th birthday in 2025, they'd throw me a party at the family estate in Oak Park, catered sushi, champagne towers, the works. I arrived buzzing from a board meeting, ready to announce a $50 million Series C round. Instead, they locked the doors, sat me down in that basement office, and laid it out like a business pitch. They'd embezzled $2.3 million from my personal savings, rerouted through shell companies I'd unknowingly signed off on during a routine audit. The app? They'd been siphoning user data to their shady partners, planning to sell the whole thing out from under me once I was out of the picture. "It's for the greater good, sweetie," Mom said,
her voice syrupy.
"Your father's health. Our debts. You'd understand if you weren't so selfish." Selfish? I'd given them everything. But when I fought back, threatening lawyers, the FBI, they panicked. Dad fetched the revolver from his gun safe, a relic from his hunting days he'd never actually gone on. Mom pulled the trigger. 1 shot.
Clean.
They staged it as suicide. pinned it on founder burnout. The headline screamed, "Tech prodigy Mia Harper takes her own life amid scandal." My empire crumbled. Their investments mysteriously stabilized. They lived like kings in Scottsdale, golfing into their 70s off my corpse.
Now, fuck that.
I had 3 years. 3 years to turn the tables, to make them choke on their own venom. But rebirth wasn't a free pass, it was a loaded gun. And I had to aim true. No rash moves, they'd sniff out paranoia like blood in the water. I'd play the dutiful daughter, the wide-eyed innovator, all while weaving a noose from the threads of their greed. First things first, secure the bag. I rolled out of bed that morning, my bare feet hitting the scuffed hardwood, and fired up my laptop. The apartment smelled like stale coffee and unwashed ambition, same as always. My fingers flew over the keys, logging into every account with the frantic precision of someone who'd just dodged a freight train. I transferred the $2.3 million, already accruing from early app revenue, into a new offshore trust in the Caymans, layered with LLCs and irrevocable clauses that even their crooked lawyers couldn't touch. No more family access bullshit. Next, I audited Harpertech's backend. Subtle backdoors, planted by Dad's consultant buddy gone, scrubbed clean. I hired a PI firm out of New York, the kind that bills in crypto for discretion, to tail my parents without them knowing. Dig deep, I emailed. Financials, associates, skeletons. By noon, I was at my favorite hole-in-the-wall diner on Division Street, scarfing a Denver omelet and scrolling through the PI's preliminary report. Nothing earth-shattering yet, just Dad's mounting casino tabs in Vegas and Mom's Botox fund draining their joint account. But one line jumped out, a meeting scheduled for next week with Victor Lang, a sleazy hedge fund manager I'd crossed paths with at a gala. Victor, the guy with the comb-over and the reputation for hostile takeovers. In my first life, he'd been the buyer for my app after the suicide. Coincidence? Bullshit. I paid cash and slipped out, the Chicago humidity wrapping around me like a warning. My phone buzzed, Mom. Right on cue. Happy birthday. Darling, lunch at Giordano's? Dad's treating. I forced a laugh into my voice, the sound echoing hollow in my chest. Wouldn't miss it.
Mom.
Love you guys. Lunch was a minefield of small talk and veiled barbs. Dad, with his salt and pepper hair and that salesman grin, grilled me on scaling opportunities. Mom fussed over my single-girl life, dropping hints about eligible bachelors from her country club set. I smiled, nodded, played the part. But inside, I cataloged every micro-expression, the way Dad's eyes flicked to his watch when I mentioned the app's user growth, the way Mom's fork paused midair at talk of my trusts. They were hungry. I could smell it. That night, alone with a bottle of Malbec and the city lights bleeding through my blinds, I sketched the plan. Trap 1, the bait. I'd dangled just enough rope, leak, insider projections showing Harpertech ripe for a $100 million valuation. Let them salivate. Let Victor circle. But I'd embed trackers in every document. Digital breadcrumbs leading straight to their doorstep. Trap 2, the mirror. I'd build a shadow company, Mianova Ventures, funneling real assets into it while Harpertech became the hollow shell they'd try to steal. Controversial? Hell yes. I'd skirt SEC edges. Use gray market coders from Eastern Europe to plant malware in their systems. Morally gray? In a world that killed me for dreaming big. Screw morality. But the real twist, the one that kept me up nights, was the personal cut. In my first life, I discovered too late, they weren't just greedy, they were complicit in something darker. Dad's investments weren't failures, they were fronts for laundering money from Victor's cartel ties. Small-time stuff, but enough to bury them. I'd borne the brunt, signing docs under duress. My name the clean facade. When the feds came sniffing in 2024, they pinned it on me, the rogue founder. That's why the bullet.
Now,
I'd flip the script. Leak the right files to the right journalist at the Chicago Tribune. Not all at once, drip, drip, until they drowned. 3 years. I'd make them believe they were winning, right up until the noose tightened. The next 6 months blurred into a high-wire act of feigned normalcy and nocturnal scheming. By day, I was Mia Harper, the poster child for bootstrap success, TEDx talks in Austin, panels at TechCrunch Disrupt, fist-pumping with VCs over IPAs in Sand Hill Road bars. Harper Tech hit 5 million users. My face on Forbes 30 under 30 list, again. Fans DM'd me mantras of girl boss empowerment. I replied with emojis. But each notification was a reminder. This life was borrowed, and I was spending it on war. Nights belonged to the shadows. My apartment transformed into a command center, whiteboards scrawled with timelines, encrypted drives humming like conspirators. The PI's reports thickened. Dad's Vegas trips weren't gambling. They were meets with low-level enforcers. Victor's tentacles reaching into Chicago's underbelly. Mom? She'd been skimming from charity galas, pocketing donations for a non-existent scholarship fund in my name. The irony burned. And the secret, the one that twisted the knife deepest, was Grandpa Ellis. My mom's dad. The World War II vet who died in 15, leaving a modest inheritance that vanished into their business. I'd found the truth in my first life. Too late, they'd forged documents, drained it for hookers and blow. Grandpa's grave became my anchor. I'd visit monthly, whispering updates to his headstone like a confessional. Controversy crept in early. To fund Mianova, I dipped into ethical quicksand, partnering with a whistleblower from a big tech rival, poaching proprietary algorithms under the table. It's revenge, not theft, I told myself, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. But doubt gnawed. Was I becoming them?
no.
They took lives, I was just taking back mine. The first real test came at Christmas 2022. The family estate in Oak Park glittered with lights. A Norman Rockwell lie. Dad poured eggnog laced with his charm. Mom gifted me a pearl necklace that screamed, "Trophy wife prep." Over turkey. He broached it casual as pie. Heard you're talking Series A?
Kiddo.
Victor Lang's a name in those circles, solid guy. Maybe intro us. My fork scraped china too loud. Victor. The snake with the private jet and the whispers of witness tampering. In my first life, he toasted at my memorial, his hand on Mom's waist. I smiled. Butter wouldn't melt.
Sure, Dad.
He's sharp. But let's vet the terms, protect the IP. That night, post-midnight, I emailed Victor's team a teaser deck. Bloated projections. Fake vulnerabilities. Hooks baited. Within a week, the bites started, phishing attempts on Harper Tech's servers, traced to an IP in Nassau, Dad's shell company hub. Spring 2023 ramped the tension. Mianova launched quietly, a consulting arm for blockchain security. I hired ex-NSA types, the kind who moonlighted for Hollywood heists. We built the trap's core, a digital doppelganger of Harper Tech, mirroring every transaction but routing funds to my vaults. When they tried the siphon, it'd loop back, exposing their access codes like neon signs. But the decisions got uglier.
To accelerate.
I greenlit a smear on a rival app, anonymous leaks to Bloomberg about data breaches that weren't mine. It tanked their stock 20%. My users surged. Ends justify, I muttered, popping Ambiens to drown the guilt. Then, the close call. April. A rainy night in Wrigleyville. I was grabbing post-game beers with my COO, Jax, a lanky Bostonian with a hacker's soul and zero family baggage, when my phone lit up. Unknown number. Mia. It's Victor. Your old man's singing your praises. Dinner? The Gauge. Thursday. Heart in throat. I agreed. The Gauge was old money opulence, crimson walls, scotch that cost a mortgage. Victor arrived in a bespoke suit, his smile all teeth. Richard says you're the future. But futures need partners. He slid a contract across the table, $80 million buyout, with advisory clauses that screamed control. I played coy, probing. Dad's mentioned your diversified portfolio. Anything I should know? His laugh was gravel. Family's family. We protect our own. Bullshit. By dessert, I'd mirrored his phone via a bump, NFC slight courtesy of Jax. Downloads, text to Dad about liquidating assets, photos of offshore ledgers. Cartel stamps.
Faint but damning.
I left with a handshake and a vow. They'd pay. Summer hit like a fever dream. Harpertech's valuation soared to $120 million. Champagne corks popped at our all hands. But privately, fractures showed. Mom called more. Her voice edged with need. We're so proud.
But
taxes are killing us. Maybe a loan. I wired $50,000, tracked. Of course. Dad cornered me at a Cubs game. Box seats courtesy of Connections. Victor's interested. Big time. Sign. And we're set. His eyes gleamed, the same hunger I'd seen before the shot. I nodded, feigning excitement. Almost there, Dad. Just ironing kinks. That night, I activated Phase 2, the leak. A redacted file, proof of their 15 forgery on Grandpa's estate, dropped to a Tribune stringer I'd cultivated. Headline next week. Tech mogul's parents accused of elder fraud in family will dispute. Anonymous source. Of course. Their stocks dipped. Panic emails flew. Good. But revenge isn't linear. It's a spiral. Jax noticed my edges fraying. You're wired different lately.
Mia.
Like you're fighting ghosts. Over late-night ramen in my kitchen. I cracked. Not the full truth. Too risky, but enough. Family's got hooks in deep. I'm cutting him. He didn't pry. Just poured whiskey. Then let's make it surgical. Allies. I needed more. By fall, the web tightened. Victor pushed for a family summit. Oak Park. November. Seal the deal, he texted. I flew in from a SF pitch. Nerves electric. The estate felt smaller. Suffocating. Dinner was roast beef and red flags. Dad's forced joviality. Mom's pill-popped haze. Victor dominated. Toasting empires built on trust. Post-meal. In the study, bookshelves hiding safes, I laid the trap verbal. What if we structure with clawbacks? Protect against liabilities. Dad's face twitched. Liabilities? We're clean. Victor's eyes narrowed. Appraising. I smiled. Just business. That night, alone in my old room, posters of Feynman and Frida faded, I hacked their Wi-Fi. Downloads galore. Emails tying Dad to Victor's shipments, Mom's Venmo trails to escorts. The secret unburied. Grandpa hadn't just died, they'd hastened it, forging his dementia meds to OD levels for the inheritance. Proof in a doctor's note. Scanned and forgotten. My hands shook. Not greed, murder. They'd killed for $200,000. What was one more bullet? I didn't sleep. Dawn broke gray. I drove to Lake Michigan. Waves crashing like accusations. Was exposing them enough? Or did I pull the trigger this time? Controversial as hell. Vigilante justice in a system that had failed me twice. But as gulls screamed overhead, resolve hardened. They'd fall. All of them. 2024 dawned with the velocity of a runaway train. Harper Tech was a rocket, $200 million valuation. Partnerships with Goldman Sachs. My face on billboards hawking, invest like a boss. Public Mia, empowered, unbreakable. Private Mia, a ghost in her own skin, haunted by echoes of that basement shot. Therapy? I'd tried. Post-rebirth, some overpriced shrink in Lincoln Park peddling mindfulness apps.
Trauma loops, she said.
I laughed. If only she knew the loop was literal. The Tribune piece dropped in January. A slow burn, shadows in the Harper legacy, allegations of forgery cloud family fortune. No names at first, but the dots connected. Dad's calls turned frantic. What the hell?
Mia?
This you're doing? I played dumb. Hurt. Dad. I had no idea. We need to lawyer up. Inside. Triumph soured to ash. Mom sobbed on speakerphone. It's lies. Baby. Protect us.
Protect.
The word that had bought my bullet. I did protect myself. Mia Nova absorbed Harpertech's core IP overnight. A reorg spun as innovation. VCs bought it, shares stabilized. But Victor? He smelled blood. February. His jet touched down at O'Hare. We met at the peninsula. Skyline mocking us through smoked glass. Your folks are exposed, he drawled, lighting a Cuban. I can clean it. For a price. The contract now $150 million. With equity strings to their consulting firm. I countered with questions. And the shipments? Feds love those manifests. His face didn't crack, but the ash trembled.
Bold. Mia.
But boldness gets you buried. Threat veiled as banter. I left with a USB gift. Dummy files laced with Stuxnet light. Enough to fry his servers come go time. Spring brought escalation. The feds knocked, subpoena on Harper Investments. Tipped by my anonymous packets. Dad lawyered up. Mom retreated to Scottsdale spas. I testified, remotely. The dutiful daughter. I trusted them implicitly. Lies layered on lies. But the controversy peaked when Jax uncovered Mom's side hustle. She'd been grooming interns from my network, young coders, for Victor's data ops. 1. A kid named Lena from my mentorship program. Had OD'd in 23. Accident, the report said. My gut twisted. Another ghost. Decision time. Go nuclear? I could dump the cartel files to the DOJ. Watch them all fry. But that'd scorch innocents, associates, users. Or personal. Confront. Record.
Leak.
Vigilante wet dream. But one slip. And I'm the villain. Sleepless in my high-rise now. Upgraded to River North. Views of the Chicago River like veins I paced. Rebirth's curse. Knowledge without absolution. I'd saved millions. Built empires. But the blood? It stained my hands too. Climax brewed in June. My 29th birthday redux. They summoned me to Oak Park, Crisis Summit. The estate reeked of desperation. Empty liquor bottles. Mom's Valium haze. Dad paced the study. Revolver on the desk like a talisman. Victor loomed via Zoom. His face pixelated menace. Sign.
Mia.
Or we go public. Your complicity in the laundries.
Complicity.
The word detonated. In my first life, I'd been innocent, duped signatures. Blind trust.
But now?
I'd danced the edge. Bent laws. You killed Grandpa, I said, voice steel. Silence. Mom gasped. Dad froze. What? I played the recording, PI wire from a month prior. Dad boasting to Victor. Old man's pills were easy. Signed it all over. Horror bloomed on their faces. Real as the basement chill.
Mia. Honey, Mom started. No.
I stood.
Tablet in hand.
You took everything. My money. My name. My life. The app on my screen pulsed. Trap 3. The Reckoning. One tap. And the doppelganger activated. Their siphon attempt live now. Desperate from Victor's prompt, triggered the loop. Funds reversed. $2.3 million yanked from their accounts. Plus interest. Plus penalties. Simultaneously, the full dossier beamed to the Tribune and SEC. Forgery proofs. Cartel manifests. Even Mom's escort ledger. It's over. Dad lunged for the gun. Instinct. Memory. But Jax burst in, my shadow all along. Tipped by our burner app. Federal agents outside. He lied. Gun drawn prop. But convincing. Victor's feed cut. Sirens wailed distant. Mom crumpled. Wailing. We did it for you. Legacy. Legacy. I laughed. Bitter. You stole mine. Cuffs clicked, real ones. Bursting through the door moments later. Real feds. My final tip paying off. Twist hit like whiplash. As they dragged Dad away, he spat. You think you're clean? That app, your code? It flagged IRS audits. We found your suicide draft.
Mia.
The burnout emails you wrote before we helped. Bullshit. But the lead agent pulled me aside. Eyes pitying. Miss Harper? We have records, your searches on inheritance fraud. 6 months ago. And a deleted file. Contingency plan. And it all. Time-stamped last year. My blood iced. In the panic of rebirth, I'd vented draft emails, dark web dives on disappearing.
Hacked?
Or planted. Victor's parting gift. No doubt. The room spun. They'd framed me again. But this time, I had Jax. The recordings. Mia Nova's clean ledgers. No, I whispered. Check the metadata. They did. Forged timestamps. IP traces to Dad's machine. The frame crumbled. Victor's jet was grounded by dawn. His empire unraveling in raids from Miami to Chicago. By July 2025, my 30th. The real one, I stood in that same basement, now an evidence locker.
No party.
No bullet. Just me. Jax, promoted to partner. and a bottle of the good scotch. Harpertech, Mianova now, valued at $500 million. Mom and Dad, life sentences, laundering and manslaughter. Victor, extradited, singing for leniency. Happy ending? In America, justice is a slot machine, sometimes it pays. But as I toasted the empty room, ghosts lingered. Rebirth gave me vengeance. But the cost? Pieces of my soul, chipped away in the fight. Worth it? Ask the girl who died, choking on betrayal. She'd say yes. Every damn time. Outside, Chicago thrummed, horns, laughter.
Life.
I stepped into it, finally free. But freedom's fragile. I kept the revolver, unloaded, in a drawer. Just in case.